我们如何了生脱死，离苦得乐，速证无生。Will the Sangha with great virtue, out of compassion for the sake of this assembly and all living beings, please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach us how to live suffering and attain bliss and end birth and death, and quickly realize non-birth.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Namo sadanto suchedoye alahudi samyao sambuddhoshe.
Namo sadanto suchedoye alahudi samyao sambuddhoshe.
无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in billions of eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. Venerable Master, Dharma friends, hi there. My name is Heng. Welcome. Today is Sunday, the 19th of June, here in Queensland of Australia, in the Gold Coast. It is Saturday, the 18th of June in California. We are coming quickly to the summer and winter solstice, which is good news for those of us who are living where the day gets shorter and shorter, the nights get longer and longer, the darkness grows. We're soon going to be at that point where the turn happens and the days get longer and the nights get shorter. And the opposite is true in the Northern Hemisphere. So we are here today to look into the Flower Garland Sutra, the chapter called Praises in a Palace of the Suyama Heaven. And we have a little bit more protocol to do before we begin. And let's do that now. What we're going to do is invoke spiritual presence, and let's see, I want to be sure as I share my screen that you all can see. There we are. That's how we're going to do it. We're going to do it with a melody. We're asking the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the Flower Garland Assembly to come near wherever you are, watching, listening, to shed their light and to bless all of us. Here we go. Osa Namo And we want to acknowledge country, say that the Kumbumeri people of the Ugambe language group practice their spiritual connections to land, to living beings, and to all creation here in this location for tens of thousands of years. And so today we acknowledge them as the traditional custodians of the land where I'm sitting. We acknowledge them with gratitude as we share the land today, and with sorrow for the costs that they had to pay for that sharing, and with hope that together, recognizing the karma that was created, we can move to a place of justice and partnership together. We acknowledge their wisdom, their elders, past, present, and emerging, and acknowledge all First Nations peoples whose sovereignty was never ceded, but was stolen anyway. Yeah. So, that being done, Triple Jewel's been invoked, country has been acknowledged, and let's get started. Today, let me just in ordinary language talk about where we are in our text. I'm explaining the Flower Garland Sutra. Flower Garland Sutra is the biggest in content, but not the longest. The longest is the Mahaprajna Paramita Sutra. But that is filled with multiple repetitions of invocations of emptiness and explaining emptiness and how the Bodhisattva empties out emptiness. And so it goes on and on. It's a great, wonderful text, superb, sublime text. But in terms of explaining what we're most interested in, the Bodhisattva path and that spirit of selfless service, you want the Avatamsaka, the flower garland, the Huayanjing. So that's what we're doing week after week, exploring it. Master Hua did it day after day for 9 years. We're busy exploring it once a week and translating it another time a week. So throughout the week, we dig into the Avatamsaka. And of course, when you think Avatamsaka, people think right away of the 10 stages, the Shirdipin, the Dashabhumi, which is the step-by-step description of the Bodhisattva climbing all the way to Buddhahood by taking living beings across. That's the most famous. In fact, that sutra is a sutra within a sutra. It came out and was separated into a teaching all by itself. You also think of Samantabhadra Bodhisattva and his 10 practices and vows, which make what a great Tang Dynasty commentator, Master Chongguan, known as Avatamsaka Bodhisattva, he said that is the key. If you understand those 10 practices and vows of Samantabhadra, you know how to walk the Bodhisattva path in your life, not just on Sunday or on Saturday night when the monks roll out the sutra, but every day you actually can make the Bodhisattva path real in your life. So that's the famous chapter. There's the 10 abodes, 10 dwellings, the 10 practices, the 10 inexhaustible treasuries, the 10 kinds of transference, the 10 stages, etc. And there are 40 chapters in all. But we have never lectured on or tried to explain the intermediate chapters, kind of like this doesn't sound very elegant, the grout holding your tiles together in your bathroom, kind of like the glue holding the pieces of the puzzle together. Those chapters are very much a part of the Avatamsaka, and everybody goes right by them because they sound repetitive. We have the ascent to the ascent to the summit of Sumeru, Shung Ding Pin. So ascending to the summit of Mount Sumeru, that's a lot of sibilants. That chapter, and then once you get to the summit of Mount Sumeru, you're in the heaven called the heaven of the 33 devas, the Sanshra Santien, the Tri-Streamsha. And there, the bodhisattvas who ascend to the summit of Mount Sumeru and then who praise the Buddha are doing so because the Buddha is coming to the Triastrimsha heaven to explain one of the chapters of the Avatamsaka. And there's a bunch of different smaller teachings that happen in that heaven. Okay, leaving that heaven, the Buddha announces that he's got another gift of Dharma to give, and it's going to be given higher up in the heavens. So he ascends to a palace of the Suyama heaven, which is the next heaven above. And we've explained that. That's chapter 19. We explained that recently. And so the Buddha gets there. He gets to the Suyama heaven, and what does he do there? He gives another gift of Dharma, which is the 10 practices teaching, the Shihangpin. Those chapters are so good. I actually put a couple of years of my life into memorizing that chapter. I didn't finish. I have to say, that's have a debt to fulfill later, probably another lifetime, memorizing the 10 practices. I got to the 7th practice before I said, can't hold anymore at this point. So the 10 practices is full of unforgettable, wonderful images based on what? The familiar paramitas, bodhisattvas, dharmas, methods for crossing beings over. The paramitas are given as antidotes. So if you're stingy, the antidote is what? Generosity. The Bodhisattva praises generosity. And he does it by giving parts of his body to beings who come and say, I'm hungry, I'm starving, can we please eat some of your flesh? And the Bodhisattva says, sure, oh, thank you so much for asking. Just by giving me this opportunity to practice giving without end, generosity without limits, you are helping me accomplish my vows and to become a bodhisattva even quicker. So it's like, gulp. I know if my mother had heard about that practice, she would have said, are you going to do that? You don't have to do that to be a Buddhist, do you? So it's unforgettable, outrageous exaggerations, you could say, of the ordinary, civilized, politically correct, polite society. The Bodhisattva was like, no, I'm going to smash those false standards. You want to see giving? I'll give. I'll show you giving. What do you need? You need an elbow. You need a thigh. You need an ear. It's all yours. And then he makes a vow and says, in the future, I promise I'm going to have a vast, great body so that any living being who comes to eat part of me, I will happily give to them. Furthermore, he tacks conditions on it. He says, anybody who eats a single bite of me in my vast, big body has to bring forth the Bodhi resolve, has to leave home, has to cultivate the way and become a Buddha before I do. Only then will I stop my practice of giving. And then he explains how in the process of giving, he's giving away his self, the false self. So it becomes a Dharma lesson. But it's just that image of the Bodhisattva when some, slavering, fang-toothed cannibal comes up and says, I want to eat your body. The Bodhisattva says, oh, thank you. Thank you so much for giving me this chance to practice a high level of giving that otherwise I wouldn't have been able to practice. So it's like, yeah, that's real giving. Now, I have to say at this point, the disclaimer, kids, don't try this at home. Don't say, oh, the Dharma Master said so, and here it is on YouTube. Preserved forever. These Buddhists, they're just bloodthirsty. They're really like into pain. It's all suffering all the time for those Buddhists. Not. That would be a misunderstanding. So it is a metaphorical invocation of generosity. And the sutra is fascinating that our Avatamsaka Sutra, this sacred, holy Buddhist text, scripture, says, sure, give everything. You need eyes, here they are. You need tongue, here it is. It goes to metaphorical extremes to show us what the Bodhisattva is willing to give. We, hearing this exhortation to give up your flesh, blood, bones, marrow, etc. Interpret that we scale that to our real lives, and we say, maybe I could give up eating meat. Try it for a month. See how I feel. Look at my budget after I've been buying things like beans and vegetables to see how I feel. Maybe I could give up profanity. Maybe I could just say no 4-letter words are going to cross my mouth. Going to speak. Maybe I can give up gossip. I just won't gossip. When it comes around and everybody's sharing stories about so-and-so and opinions, I'll simply smile and hold my peace. I won't pass the gossip on. How about that? That's the kind of giving that really counts. Never mind cutting off a finger or burning your body. Right? Now, do the bodhisattvas, is it metaphorical for a real bodhisattva? No, I think the bodhisattva really probably does happily give up everything. But the text is there as a mirror for us to reflect on and say, how about me? Am I stingy? Do I hold on to everything? Never give anything away? Like, as Master Hua would say, giving away, if he could give away a single hair to save the world, he wouldn't. That's stingy. 拔一毛而救世界，才不如，才不做, something like. I don't know how the Chinese went. But yeah, he wouldn't do that even, So, by comparison, it's a teaching. It's an advocate for generosity, for giving. That's just the first one. That's the first practice. The second practice goes to precepts, the third to patience, the fourth to vigor, the fifth to samadhi, the sixth to prajna. Oh, the sixth practice in prajna, incredible. So, wonderful, wonderful text. We are laying the ground for that dharma to come ahead. We've already explained the 10 practices years ago back in Berkeley. So we're skipping around. But here's the point I was making. Today's lecture and last month's lecture on chapter 19, we're now in chapter 20, is the in-between, the glue that holds those bigger pieces of the Avatamsaka together. After the Buddha, so we're now today's lecture, we're going to welcome bodhisattvas who have arrived. Once the Deva king of the Suyama heaven set up the seat, he prepared the landscape for the Buddha to come and speak. And having done so, the bodhisattvas arrived, 10 of them. We've heard their names. We're in the process of learning where they're from and the Buddhas of those lands where they're from. And then they're going to start giving their praises. And the praises, the verses that they sing, are magnificent. And that's the substance. That's the tofu and broccoli as opposed to the meat and potatoes of our chapter. So, guess what? After that, after the 10, the Buddha then says, okay, good, the bodhisattvas are praised, I accept. I'm going to ask Forest of Merit and Virtue Bodhisattva, Gongde Lin Pusa, to speak on my behalf, to deliver the Dharma that I want people to hear and understand. That's what happens. Following that, there's another smaller Dharma topic called Wujinzang, Shi Wujinzang Pin, the 10 inexhaustible storehouses, treasuries. They never empty. They're constantly flowing. That chapter happens. I believe we did lecture that at one point, so we'll check what follows this. Okay, then the Buddha moves on. He says, thank you, appreciate your welcome. See you again in a future eon. And he goes on to another heaven. He goes on to the Tushita, the Do Shuai To Tian, the Tushita heaven, and gives another major piece of the Bodhisattva path, which is called the Shi Hui Xiangping, the 10 dedications, the 10 methods of transference. And the same thing happens. He ascends to the palace. There are praises as the Bodhisattvas arrive, and then he explains the 10 dedications. And that's a long, long chapter. So these are the in-between chapters, ascending to the summit of Mount Sumeru, the Tristrimsha heaven, to the Suyama heaven, then to the Tushita heaven. And then the Buddha goes on, he goes traveling further to give you more chapters of the Avatamsaka. So interesting that the context, the environment where the Avatamsaka was spoken, is various stations of the heavens, of the desire realm, among other places. 7 places, 9 different assemblies. All right, that makes sense. Let's see now. I'm going to pop open our text. There it is. I'm going to share my screen. I did it. There we are. Right. Here we are. 此诸菩萨所从来国，所谓亲会世界、传会世界、宝会世界、圣会世界、灯会世界、金刚会世界、安乐会世界、智慧世界、净慧世界、梵会世界。All of these bodhisattvas in the worlds they came from, namely world personal wisdom, world banner wisdom, world jewel wisdom, world victorious wisdom, world lamp wisdom, world Vajra wisdom, world peaceful joyful wisdom, world solar wisdom, world purified wisdom, and world immaculate wisdom. These are the worlds our bodhisattvas came from. I'm going to, let's see here, park that down below and pick up my notes. Here we are. There we are. I was sliding through. Sorry about that. Peaceful, joyful. Okay, going to share again. Here we are. These are the worlds. And as I look at these, Qinhui could mean relationship with wisdom. It's wisdom, experienced wisdom. It's the Qin here is interesting. It's the name, my Dharma name when I took refuge with Master Hua was Guo, because that was the generation of his personal disciples. Guo had the name fruit, result, Guo. Our generation, when the Guo generation matures and is qualified to give the refuges on behalf of the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, our disciples are named Qin, the same word, personal, my own, engaged with, involving, and then whatever follows. So involving wisdom, personal wisdom, engaged with wisdom, engaging wisdom, something like that. So this engaging wisdom, like invoking personally, qinzi, you yourself. That's how this wisdom works, like that word. So you could even say, we wouldn't probably, but something like intimate with wisdom. That's the idea, is you're engaged with, you're taking on wisdom. That's the name of the land, the country, the world that this Bodhisattva came from, the Shijie. Next one, banner. And boy, you know where you see banners? You see banners at used car lots. The modern banner is the inflatable figure at the used car lot who waves around and then he falls down and then the puff of air comes up and he waves around again. You know that you can buy a used car there or a car wash. That's our modern banner. We don't see banners anymore because we don't see armies. Banners typically have to do with kingdoms and armies. If you've seen, when was the last time you watched a Chinese martial arts film? A Chinese period piece, an extravaganza, and it always starts with some massive number of horsemen, cavalry, or infantry charging across the field to encounter the enemy. And there's always one or two shots where they show the flag. And the flag will say something like Shu, meaning these troops come from Sichuan, or the flag will say Zheng, it means that the troops come from the country of Zheng, or Wu or Wei, you know. The flag represents the power of the state, or the emperor, or the king. So since okay, you want to know a contemporary banner in a negative? Apparently, Emperor Vladimir Putin chose the letter Z, like Zorro, the mark of Zorro, to represent his icon, his logo. That's the equivalent of the banner. Somebody paints Z on the side of the tank as it invades a sovereign nation, Ukraine. So that's a contemporary use of what a banner would be used for. Now, that's from the ridiculous. Let's go back to the sublime. The sublime is when you walk into an adorned Buddha hall, a decorated Buddha hall in our tradition. Theravada, I don't think I've seen banners in Theravada salas among the Thai forest tradition. Maybe in Bangkok, the Mahayut or the other tradition, maybe. But banners typically involve fabric, cloth. In the Chinese Mahayana, they hang down, they go horizontal across a ceiling, and they also carry language. So in a typical Buddha hall of the Mahayana, including here at the Gold Coast Dharma, I don't have them here in my particular little altar, but in front of the altar where the incense urn will be, there will be a smaller table. And the table will have a smaller urn for holding incense, maybe this big, maybe flatter, and a little wider. And that's where you add sandalwood incense. And whoever is serving as Dharma host will go down, kneel, hold up sandalwood pukkering. In front of that table that holds that censer, there will be a banner. And it's usually like this long. You see my hands, that long. And it's usually about this wide, and it's always golden, and it has fringe. And it says something across it like, Fa Jie Meng Xun, the Dharma realm receives the fragrance. Or Jie Xiang Zhen, how does it go? Jie Shang, Jie Li Zhen, Jie Xun. The Zhen Xiang. The fragrance of precepts is truly sublime, something like that. Or it will be, what are some of the other, Fa'alun Changzhuan, the Dharma wheel constantly turns, something like that. So 4 characters, usually something auspicious, and it will be embroidered. These will be embroidered with thread across the top of the banner. And then there will be a picture of a lotus. Usually, sometimes the lotus with the entire lotus rhizome, the root of the lotus, and a green leaf, and a lotus coming out. And the Buddha's image is not on the banner. It's something auspicious. Okay? So that's where you'll see banners. And I'm trying to think of what they will be like in the West when it comes to Australia, or when it comes to California. California, it would be Dharma wisdom is really cool, or Dharma wisdom. Currently, so it'd be, hold the precepts, get wise, something like that. In Australia, it would be Dharma wisdom, she's right, like that. So that's a banner. Other banners, the big long ones, oh my God, they connect to the ceiling. They're at the very top and they go down like 20 feet and it'll be the name of the Buddha. Namo Ban Shi Shi Jia Mo Ni Fo. Homage to our fundamental teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha. Or Ji Lo Shi Namo Ji Lo Shi Jie Ami Tofo. I return my life in worship to the Buddha Amitabha of the Western Pure Land, the land of ultimate bliss. Or Namo Guanshi Bodhisattva, Namo Earth Store Bodhisattva. I've seen banners just all like those. Then a third one that I've seen is hanging horizontally across the entire room. However wide it is, the banners are made. I don't know who makes the banners. Maybe Singapore, maybe Taiwan, where you have to go to have banners made. But they're Jieding Zhenxiang. There we go. Thank you. Jieding. Samadhi and, precepts and samadhi are truly fragrant. Jieding Zhenxiang. That's it. That's also the name of a hymn. Jieding. Like that. So those banners that are horizontal also carry language, and it will be, something like, Changzhu Sambao, Shifang Sanshi Ichie Zhufo, or Changzhu Sambao, something appropriate in Chinese characters, beautifully embroidered in thread on a gold silk background with flower accents and fringe, and they're quite marvelous, those banners. If I'd thought about it, I would have dug up some off of YouTube to show you, off of pictures of our Buddha Hall at CTDB. You have to use your imagination, but those are banners. And the country is called the wisdom of banners, banner wisdom. Jewel wisdom is precious wisdom, jeweled wisdom, jewel wisdom, the wisdom, priceless wisdom, something like that. Victorious wisdom, wisdom that actually wins. And what would be winning in this context? It would be taking you all the way past your obstacles, past your karmic debts, past your emotions, past your hang-ups, to the nature which is free of all afflictions and ignorance. So that's victorious. Lamp wisdom, wisdom that blazes and lights things up so the darkness is gone. Wisdom of the Vajra. Jinggang Hui. Vajra, we had a long discussion about Vajra recently in our translation group, and along with Mani. Vajra and Mani are two spiritual quantities. Vajra can be translated as diamond or adamantine if it's an adjective. But what is Vajra? It's diamond-like substance that is said to be unbreakable and pure and lights things up. Diamonds are like that, but it's not a diamond. It doesn't come out of the earth. You don't mine it and then cut the facets. Vajra is a result of cultivation. And there are Vajra mountains, there's Vajra wisdom, there's Vajra swords, things like that. So it's a common substance that is precious and valuable in the world of wisdom. So once you actually enter the Dharma realm, ni ru fa jie zhi hou, that's when Vajra comes real. Same with Mani. Mani, M-A-N-I, is this amazing substance that is often called Mani jewels, Mani pearls. But what is Mani? Can't find it on eBay. No rich person owns Mani. It's not, Jeff Bezos doesn't have a Mani bar in his spacecraft. You have to get past your ignorance before you can actually find Mani. But it's all through the sutras. Mani pearls, Mani jewels. So, yeah, Mani thrones. Oh goodness, lots of stuff. So that's one of those qualities. Spiritual realities, phenomenology. Anybody wants to write a master's thesis on the prevalence of mani and other spiritual substances in Buddhist sutras? That would be a good topic. You can quote me and you can give me a citation in the acknowledgments. Peaceful, joyful world. Anle. This phrase occurs in the Lotus Sutras, in any one of the chapters. Peaceful, joyful practices. An, peaceful, le, happiness. That kind of wisdom. And that's a great epithet, modifier of wisdom. When you're wise, how do you feel? Peaceful and joyful. You see the patterns. You see how things go from root all the way out to the branch tip. And from the branch tip, back to the root. And things connect when you have that wisdom. Have a world with that name. How nice. Yeah. What is our world's name? Meant to be endured. Ooh. Watching formerly great countries collapse. World solar wisdom. Hui. It would probably be better than solar. We should probably change this. Sun-like wisdom. Not sun, S-O-N, S-U-N. Sun-like, daughter-like, no, sun-like. Radiant as the, right, as in sunlight, sun-like. People say sunlight, no, sun-like, just like the sun. Wisdom that is so bright and so life-giving and so yang, completely yang, no yin, no shadows, in sun-like wisdom. Purified wisdom, Jing Hui, wisdom that has had all selfishness or manipulation removed. No strategy in that wisdom. Immaculate wisdom, Fan Hui. This word Fan, Brahma, a Brahman is same word like the Brahman, the caste, the priest caste, but Brahma, the god, Fan Wang, it's the name of a series of heavens, the Fan Jie, the Brahma heavens, the Brahma realm. Here, it has to do with wisdom that arises from purity. And it also, when it's connected to the word Heng, practice, Fan Heng, it stands for celibacy. That is to say, the holy life, the holy path. I know there are worlds where, see, I think I'm going to, now that I'm done, I'm going to finally open it up. There we go. Okay, cover my desktop. There are Buddhist worlds where sponsoring someone, a man in particular, often because there aren't bhikshuni sanghas in, like, for example, Burma, known as Myanmar, but I prefer Burma. In Burma, if you were wealthy and you were a Buddhist and you wanted to make merit, you wanted to use the Dharma to get the good stuff in life, you wanted to invest in your future and your family's well-being, what would you do? You would sponsor somebody to leave home who couldn't afford to do it themselves. Now, does that mean you have to be rich to leave home? No, it just means that ordinarily when somebody leaves home, they leave behind what? The plow, the rice paddy, the tending the animals, growing, watching the crops, making sure that you plant at the right time and you harvest at the right time, and that they don't dry out and they don't flood, all those things. If you can't leave those things, you don't leave home. So what some people will do, rich people, wealthy people, who they themselves don't want to leave home, can't do it, they will pay for someone else to keep their life going, supporting their family, and then the individual who is now sponsored to leave home can leave home, shave their head, become a monk, and do what? Live the holy life. So they say even a single day of leaving the holy life where you are now apart from your spouse. You're not at home in a position to fulfill your family duties and expand your family and, these things. You're now living as a celibate monastic, taking that energy and investing it in wisdom, the energy that would otherwise go out into the next generation, right? You're cultivating the Dharma. That's called living the holy life. And people would say, oh, to be able to do that for a single day. Chinese emperors said that. To be able to just put on that robe for a single day and be free of all of the entanglements that come from worldly relationships. If I could avoid that, I'd just set my mind and focus on my next breath. Focus on my next thought. I can't afford to. I have too many kids, too many troubles, too many debts, too many promises, too many fights that are still echoing in my consciousness, too much anger. I can't get away from it. This just shakes me all up. But I'm going to leave home and practice Brahma conduct, Fan Heng. There's an entire chapter of the Avatamsaka Sutra called Fan Heng, immaculate practice. Oh, what a joy, what liberation, right? So people talk about it that way. I had the wonderful story. When I was still a layman and was seriously considering becoming a Buddhist monk, I had met Master Hsuanhua. I knew about Gold Mountain Monastery. I had met my former roommate, who was now a monk, Bhikshu Hangyo. And I decided I was going to do it. This is my chance. I didn't want to miss my chance to meet the real teacher in the world. This was 1974. I'd already taken refuge. I had a Dharma name, and I saw that I could leave home. So, there we go. And so, at this point, I was practicing as an astrologer, among other things, to make money. I had to pay my way through graduate school. And so I was doing chart readings for people. And among the community in Berkeley at the time, Berkeley had a fairly robust community of astrologers. And I'm going to expand my screen. There we go. And among them was a young man named Billy Bento. And Billy was quite a distinguished astrologer. He was really good. I knew most of the folks who were doing charts, and there was a great variety of skills. And I was a mid-level reader. I did all the math for the charts. I learned how to handle the table of ephemerides and the table of houses, and adjust for locations and all, and the table of geological tables, so knowing where people, geographical tables, so you could adjust for the time zones and all, could do all that. But Billy had a gift. He was quite something. And so somebody told me, before you leave the world and become a monk, why don't you ask Billy to do your chart and see whether you have any affinities with becoming a monk? Well, be a monk? Why do you want to be a monk? So I said, well, that's a good idea. I haven't had a chart reading. I do readings for other people, but I wanted somebody to look at my chart. So Billy Bento did my chart and called me in, went over to his apartment in Berkeley and sat down with him. And he brought it out and he said, Billy was African American. Billy said, brother, he said, you're going to make a soul sacrifice, he said. Meaning I was going to lead the Brahma conduct. He said, you're going to make a soul sacrifice. So I thought, good, that's good. I mean, I'm going to make it. I'm going to leave home. So, yeah, so that's Brahma conduct, Brahma wisdom, immaculate wisdom. So we translated that as, how do we translate it? We translated it as immaculate, immaculate wisdom world. So I think that's a pretty good translation. It's a world where people have a different set of priorities, different values. The values are, what are they going to do with their time and their energy? And it's funny how when people engage with the reality that you are, once you become a monk, you're going to be sleeping alone. You're going to be relating to men or women in a community, but not across the genders. You're going to be celibate. You're going to forego having children and grandchildren. And that's hard for parents to understand that their son or daughter is going to do this. So luckily, I had stepbrother and stepsister who provided the children for my mom and dad. You know, they were delighted. We had wonderful children and grandchildren in my extended family. So my mother was happy with that. But this idea, once you tell people, you know, I'm going to become a monk, you're going to leave the world like that? And one of the knee-jerk stereotypes that comes to people pretty quickly among the challenges when they discover that you're going to do that, what do they say? They say, well, there won't be any. What if everybody did that? Humanity would stop, right? Why are you doing it? You're going to end civilization? Why do you do that for? And the answer, of course, is, how many monks have there been? How many nuns have there been in human history? What percentage of the people living and breathing right this minute are in robes now? And you would probably get 0.0004, my guess. You want to do the math? Do we have somebody can do the math? What is the current world population? And then what is the current population of Buddhist, Catholic, Hindu, Zoroastrian? Do Sikhs ever? No, I don't think so. I think Sikhs' marriage is a sacrament. There's no Jewish monastic. There are Jubu monastics, but in Judaism is a family tradition. There's no Jewish monks, only if they're Jewish Buddhist monks. So yeah, if you did add up, somehow come up with a database, get the total number of people in robes living Brahma conduct currently, divide that into the current living, breathing population, and you would probably get less than a fraction of 1% of humanity is in robes. So my answer, when people say, what if everybody did what you're doing? Humanity would stop. Say, you have no means by which to compel everybody to do it. Most people have other priorities. They don't see the value of cultivating the way. They are happy to roll over and go back to sleep. Yeah. So, immaculate wisdom. Hallelujah. Okay, what's next? We have, stop sharing, go back to our text. What do we have coming up? We got something interesting coming up, which I'll share with you in a minute. We are, oh, yeah, look at that. There's that line. Okay, we're going to do just that line. 此诸菩萨各于佛所精修梵行. Okay. Each of these bodhisattvas had practiced immaculate practices purely in those worlds, in the presence of their respective Buddhas. I should have read that line before I wasn't sharing. Okay, so here we go. I should have read that line before hold on. Thank you. One more time. Close that. Bring my text back up. Buddhas. Okay. And now, share my... It's too quick with that. Here we go. Here we go. Let's do it again. 此诸菩萨各欲佛所精修梵行. Chinese says, these, plural, bodhisattvas, so all the bodhisattvas, each where the Buddhas were, wherever they were with the Buddhas, jing xiu fan heng, purely cultivated the Brahma practice, the holy life, as I was mentioning. Each of these bodhisattvas had practiced immaculate practices purely in those worlds, in the presence of their respective Buddhas. Okay, there we go. All right, I didn't know that was coming after I gave my little discourse about leaving the holy life and making a soul sacrifice. So we're going to read this next chapter, this next paragraph right here. 常住言佛，无胜言佛，无住言佛，不动言佛，天言佛，解脱言佛，审谛言佛，名相言佛，最上言佛，干清言佛。Buddha namely, their names were, 所谓, their names were, Buddha eyes that constantly abide, Buddha eyes that are unsurpassed, Buddha eyes that do not rest, Buddha eyes that do not move, Buddha eyes of the devas, Buddha eyes of liberation, Buddha eyes that can detect the truth, Buddha eyes of bright characteristics, Buddha eyes that are unsurpassed, Buddha eyes that are navy blue. Navy blue? Okay. One more paragraph. Ready? 是诸菩萨道佛所以顶礼佛祖，随所来放，各化作模拟藏狮子之座，于其座上结跏趺坐。如此世界中，耶摩天上菩萨来积，一切世界悉亦如是。其诸菩萨，世界如来所有名号，悉等无别。When each of these bodhisattvas arrived at the Buddha's place and bowed and respected his feet, comma, according to the directions they came from, each of them made a mani treasury lion's throne, and, crossing their legs in full lotus, took their seat upon it. Just as it was with bodhisattvas gathering in this world's Suyama heaven, so too did these events transpire in all the many worlds, with their bodhisattvas, their worlds, their tathagatas, and their names the same in every way. 好的. We're gonna close that one, bring this one back. Here we go. The names of the Buddhas. Buddha, one was called Eyes. Let's see, first of all, before, I'm going to do? Shrink that back down. Pick this up. This is the one I want. We're going to do just a little variation here and then come back to the text. Okay, there it is. Let's fill the screen with that. I'm going to show you, what do I have on my screen here? I have the names of 7 tathagatas. 7 tathagatas, 7 Buddhas. And there. I'm going to do that. That's 7 times. I'm adapting on the fly here. Let's see. Bao Sheng Namo Miao Shai or Se Shen Namo Guang Bo Shen Namo Li Bu Wei Namo Gan Lu Wang. And the last one, Namo A Mi To. Familiar name. Okay, what are we going to do next? We're going to sing them. Namo Do Bao Ru Lai, Namo Bao Sheng Ru Lai, Namo Miao Sha Shen Ru Lai, Namo Guang Bo Shen Ru Lai, Namo Li Bu Wei Ru Lai, Namo Gan Lu Wang Ru Lai, Namo Amito Ru Lai. Namo Do Bao Ru Lai, Namo Bao Sheng Ru Lai, Namo Miao Sha Shen Ru Lai, Namo Guang Bo Shen Ru Lai, Namo Li Bu Wei Ru Lai, Namo Gan Lu Wang Ru Lai, O Amito Ru Lai. Namo Do Bao Ru Lai, Namo Bao Sheng Ru Lai, Namo Miao Sha Shen Ru Lai, Namo Guang Bo Shen Ru Lai, O Li Bu Wei Ru Lai, Namo Gan Lu Wang Ru Lai, O Amito Ru Lai. Palate cleanser. We'll come back to that. What have we got? We have reciting, we have the names of Buddhas. Share my screen. Here's the names of Buddhas. They all have names that have to do with eyes. What are these Buddhas? Why do they pop up now? We're seating, we're getting the Bodhisattvas who are coming to hear the Dharma in the Suyama Heaven Palace, we're getting them settled. They're all settling in. And once they're settled, they start to praise. And that's the substance of our chapter. So right at this point, the Bodhisattvas arrived, led by Gongde Lin, Forest of Merit and Virtue. He was the first one. He's the leader. He's the host of the 10 Practices Dharma Assembly. So he shows up in our grout interstices chapter, in our in-between, the infrastructure. These are infrastructure chapters. There we go. That's the word. We are familiar with Build Back Better and infrastructure bills. So the infrastructure of the Avatamsaka Sutra is as the Buddha travels from heaven to heaven to heaven, going up and other places as well. So in this infrastructure chapter, we're between the heaven of the 33 and the Tushita. We're in a heaven called the Suyama. And so here in the Suyama heaven, the Buddha shows up, the Bodhisattvas follow him. Then it says their names were, they came from, and the Buddhas in the lands where they lived were named such and such. That information is helpful if you really, if you're into the, if you're a Buddha nerd, if you're someone who loves the data, and not to say trivia, because having a Buddha is not trivial, but if you are someone who lives, breathes the Buddha's teaching, these Buddhas, eyes that constantly abide, eyes that are unsurpassed, and the others, all just those names and those countries open. And they open into a world system that is infinite and complete, with a history, with stories. So it's easy to just run right past these names and say, yeah, those Buddhas, yeah, there's lots, there's 10, there's always 10, But that would be to miss, that would be eating the menu without tasting the food. And the food here is delicious. Oh my goodness. This is the stuff of wisdom and compassion. It's the smell, the fragrance, the vision, the sounds, the music, the sense, the feeling of enlightenment and the environment where enlightened beings live and work. So, Buddha, eyes. Notice this word here, yan. Every one of the Buddhas is called yan, something or other. Eyes in the head. But eyes can also be wisdom, vision. So, eyes that changzhu, that see things that never leave, such as the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, things that are changzhu, constantly here, that the Buddha's eyes, once he wakes up, he sees those things. Further, eyes that see what is unsurpassed. And another way to translate Wu Sheng, which is a choice we made, was undefeated. Never defeated. Undefeated eyes, Buddha. Another is the Buddha whose eyes never close. Right? Is it true? Yeah. That do not rest, do not stop, rest. Yeah, that's okay for Wuzhu. Somebody say, no dwelling, Buddha no dwelling. Yeah, but no pause, rest, pause, stop. Those are all good translations for Wuzhu. Eyes, he sees how continuity is the nature of samsara, of our experience. Consciousness continues. And his eyes perceive that. The Buddha eyes, let's see, do not, title. So eyes that don't tremble, eyes that don't flicker, vision that never fails, vision that doesn't shudder. It is steady like the sun. Mind you, the sun is constantly moving, but that light doesn't dim. So that's the kind of eyes that perceives that. This is an interesting one. Tianyan Buddha. Deva eye Buddha. So Tianyan is familiar to us. The Tian is Deva, heaven eye, heaven vision Buddha. When you have opened your Tianyan, your eyes that see the devas, eyes that can see into the heavens, it also includes the ability to see all the realms of existence. So you can see in the hells. That's the real caution. People in places in Asia where Buddhism has been, and I'm thinking Taiwan, and I'm thinking Malaysia, and I'm thinking Singapore, and I'm thinking Hong Kong, China, Vietnam, places like that, Korea and Japan, this idea that some people are able to see with special vision. Who? Stockbrokers. Oh, you should definitely invest here. This will return portable debentures. Your portfolio will be so healthy if you can buy this stock. Buy this. I see with my Deva vision that you ought to buy this stock. Yeah. Or no. Don't buy it. Also, who else? Realtors. Oh my goodness, you want to go into business? I have found the shop lot that is for you. This is the one that you should buy. Buy this, invest this. I'll forego my commission so you can buy it. Yeah. Nope. Your Deva vision, your Tianyan does not allow you to match buyers with properties. Sorry. Why? Why am I so hard on people who make claims to have the Deva eye? Never mind all the fraudulent religious people who will tell you that they have their Tianyan, their Deva eye open. I have a story about that I'll share with you later. We don't buy it because now there can be all kinds of phonies and shysters who are seeing, maybe they have intuition, maybe they're just smoking too much of that stuff, whatever it might be. They claim to see things you can't see, but it's not the Buddha's Tianyan. It is not derived from the cultivation of the Dharma. In the Avatamsaka Sutra, it tells us what it takes to open your real Tianyan, your celestial vision, your Deva eye. The eye is the vision of Devas, or vision into the realm of Devas. You can. It's real. It really opens if you what? Have the functioning of compassion. Have set aside your desires. If you have any personal desire based on the self and things I like and things I don't like, your Deva vision will not open. Now, that being said, what we learned from our teacher was there are many, many varieties of Deva vision. There are this phenomenon that if you cultivate in one lifetime and create the merit and virtue and the conditions that could lead to having spiritual vision, it can manifest in the next life, not now. So we had actually in our community a nun who after she left home just a short time, and these functions opened up. The 5 spiritual eyes opened. But it was not from anything she had done in this life. It had followed her, kind of like a bank account, kind of like a trust, right? You get it when you're 21. Your parents leave it for you, and you don't. The bankers hold it until you're 21. So that happened. So there's that. There are also gui tong, ghost vision. There's shen tong, spirit vision. All different kinds of phenomenon that have to do with being able to see past the ordinary limits to our ordinary vision, right? So those are all real. And the Avatamsaka tells you how it can happen. It happens in the 3rd stage of the 10 stages. So you have to have transformed the self, you have to have transformed desire, you have to be selfless, you have to be compassionate. So the idea that you would use that to gain a client, to make a sale, to get a name, become famous, not going to happen. That's not. It might be something else. It's not the Buddha's Tianyan. All right. What else? Liberated eyes that see the way to let go of things that we hang on to. Things that it's not that they cling to us, it's that we don't let them go. This Buddha's eyes can see how to let those go. Such as what? Such as low self-esteem, always beating yourself up. Such as fears. Can we let go of our anxieties and just step forward? Go ahead. Can we let go of habits? This Buddha's eyes understands how to liberate ourselves from those issues. Boy, if I could let go of my lazy habits when it comes to practicing the guqin, I should have been a really good guqin player, the Chinese 7-string lute at this point, but I'm not. I don't devote myself to the hours that it takes. And then I just wish, I wish I could play the guqin. Yeah, but if you practice, you could. Yeah, I can't let that one go. Ooh. Eyes that shundi understand the truth. Oh my. They clearly understand the principles behind behavior and phenomena. Ming xiang, eyes of bright characteristics, so that there's a lot of ways to interpret that. Eyes that understand the external features of things and how they arise from causes that are invisible. That's a Buddha's name. Eyes that are Zui Shang, the highest, unsurpassed, absolute tip-top eyes, summit eyes. That would be another way to say it, the highest kinds of vision. Finally, look at this one, Ganqing. This is a color. It's a color. It's so blue it's almost green, so blue it's almost black. That's the Qing. And navy blue was the kind of, so I think navy blue eyes Buddha. That's a kind of a funny name for a Buddha, isn't it? So it's talking about this incredible Buddha's color. So yeah, there we are. Look at that. Buddha's names. And what does it say? It says, we're going to put that away, save that, and we're going to bring up our text one more time. There it is. And we're going to share our screen. It says, each of those bodhisattvas arrived at the Buddha's place and bowed in respect at the foot of the Buddha who is now in the heaven, not the Buddhas that live in the worlds they came from. According to the directions they came from, each of them, here's Mani, there's our precious thing. Each of them made a Mani treasury, lion's throne, the way the king of the Suyama heaven did. And guess what? Crossed their legs in full lotus and sat upon the seat. That's what they do. That's what they do. Okay. All right. Taking one more step into our chapter, take a look at my desktop. Here is a Buddha. Zoom lets me sneeze off mic, which is good. Here's a Buddha sitting in full lotus on his lotus treasury lion's throne. And that's a kookaburra who is considering the potential, the possibility of reciting the Buddha's names. Why would a kookaburra want to do that? Well, it's a wise bird. What is the deal? The deal is Buddha recitation. In the Mahayana, we have a practice of nianfo, reciting the Buddha's name. The Theravada does the same. In the Theravada, there are 25 Buddhas that monks and lay people can recite almost the way, you know how anybody who's been to a monastery in our association, in the evening, we have our wanke, our evening chanting, and at alternate nights, we do either the Amitabha Sutra, which has the names of Buddhas from 6 different directions. If you come the next night, we do what's called the 88 Buddhas. So we recite the names of Bashabafo, Da Chan Hui Wan, the 88 Buddhas. And every night we do the Meng Mountain, Misty Mountain ceremony, offering ceremony, and we recite the names of 7 tathagatas. Namo Do Bao Ru Lai, Namo Bao Sheng Ru Lai, Namo Miao Shai Shen Ru Lai, etc. Those 3. We just did them in Chinese just now. Reciting the Buddha's name is a major Mahayana practice. And I'm going to talk about this briefly because we just heard the names of 7 Buddhas and the countries that the Bodhisattvas came from, where those Buddhas live and teach. Reciting their names is a premier, first-class, important, significant practice for the Mahayana. And in the Mahayana, the roots of this practice, often people say, goes back to a text from the Agamas, texts that are in both Pali and in Chinese. So the Dirgha Agama, the Chang-e Han Jing, the longer Agama, chapters, sutra that is to say, has constantly talks about what are called the 6 kinds of recollection. Another way to say it is 6 kinds of mindfulness. Mindfulness is a power word these days. So the 6 kinds of recollection, what do we recall? What do we think of? What do we keep in mind? First is the Buddha, 念佛, 这个叫六念, the 6 kinds of mindfulness, the 6 recollections. So we keep the Buddha in mind. We think about, oh wow, the Buddha made a soul sacrifice, life after life, in order to gain wisdom. And the purpose of gaining wisdom was so he could help people. So he could make his life, her life, worthwhile, worth living, worth getting out of bed on a cold morning. So that's the first one. The second, nian, the second thing you are mindful of, the second thing you recollect, is the Dharma. The Dharma is principle, so the thing that you wake up to as a Buddha, but it also means a method, a technique, a how-to. And one of the qualities of the Buddha's teaching is that it is DIY. We do it ourselves. Do-it-yourself wisdom. You wake up yourself. And as I mentioned previously, when I was doing a pilgrimage at one point, one of the number 1 critiques of my practice that came from the mouths of typically Christian preachers who were proselytizing was, get up from there. Don't you know that Jesus looks on those works as filthy rags? You can't work your way into heaven. It is only by grace alone that we are saved. All right. And you can hear in my tone of voice it was often delivered with a lot of scorn. How could you possibly do that? And the problem with that, I mean, every different tradition has their own stories, and to say one story is more valid than another is a fool's errand. You will fight if you discredit others' stories. We don't want to fight, but the problem that I had with that particular teaching was it goes against cause and effect, which is a fundamental truth of the universe, kind of an engine that the universe runs on, according to earlier Christian Hebrew teachings. So as you sow, so shall you reap. And the idea is, by practicing, in particular, we were practicing bowing outside instead of inside the monastery. The idea of humbling yourself was to transform that sense of me in the middle, the big me, the big overbearing ego, that being locked in this body, it seems like the whole world is around me, I'm the center, right? Well, the Buddha's wisdom says that is not the case. That's just a story we tell ourselves. If you're in the center, where did you go when you died? Who were you before you came? If you were did the world not have a center? No. every being locked into a body with the senses pointing outwards has the feeling that everything's around them. But how can everybody be the center? So bowing is an attempt to break through that misunderstanding, that misperception of me in the middle. Everybody else is outside me. So millions of people, and the Buddha was the first one in our particular world, applied the Dharma and realized that wasn't true, that we in fact are all connected. And it is this vision of the world, when you turn it around and look to its source, you discover, oh my goodness, there is something that is truly in the middle, and that is wisdom and compassion. That's what keeps everybody else coming into being out of ignorance and then dying again and coming back. You can put an end to that process and help others wake up too if you penetrate the illusion of self. Empty out the self, empty out dharmas, and you have great wisdom. So the Dharma is the thing. Mindful of the Dharma. That's number 2, right? We're going to 6. Number 3, mindful of the Sangha, people who dedicated themselves to doing that. Number 4, mindful of what? Morality, they say? Precepts. The thing that allows you to cultivate the Dharma and succeed. Stopping the outflows. Number 5 is mindful of generosity. I like that one. Service, you could say. Giving is the thing that keeps us, that keeps our merit and virtue going, because you don't only need wisdom, you also need blessings. And then the last one is mindful of devas, how that represents essentially the community that supports wisdom. The devas come around the Buddha because they want to be like him. So they have one eye open in the world of the blind. So 6 kinds of recollection. We recall Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, precepts, generosity, transcendence in the heavens, the devas. So of those, number 1 is mindful of the Buddha. So when we go what do? We do this. We bring up our chanting sheet, which is here, and we go back and share our screen, which is here. We go, Namo Do Bao Ru Lai, Namo Bao Sheng Ru Lai, Namo Miao Sha Shen Ru Lai, Namo Guang Bo Shen Ru Lai. Oh, sorry. Typo. Can't chant it if it's printed wrong. There we go. Namo Li Bu Wei Ru Lai, Namo Gan Lu Wang Ru Lai, Namo Amito Ru Lai. Namo Do Bao Ru Lai, Namo Bao Shen Ru Lai, Namo Miao Sha Shen Ru Lai, Namo Guang Bo Shen Ru Lai, Namo Li Bu Wei Ru Lai, Namo Gan Lu Wang Ru Lai, Namo Amito Ru Lai. And again, Namo Do Bao Ru Lai, Namo Bao Shen Ru Lai, Namo Miao Sha Shen Ru Lai, Namo Guang Bo Shen Ru Lai, Namo Li Bu Wei Ru Lai, Namo Gan Lu Wang Ru Lai, Namo Amito Ru Lai. Namo Do Bao Ru Lai, Namo Bao Shen Ru Lai, Namo Miao Sha Shen Ru Lai, Namo Guang Bo Shen Ru Lai, Namo Li Bu Wei Ru Lai, Namo Gan Lu Wang Ru Lai, Namo Amito Ru Lai, etc., and on and on and on into the future, right? When we do that, things happen, things change. These are known as the 7 tathagatas, Chirulai, and they precede Shakyamuni. These are Buddhas from the past, and their names have remarkable efficacy because, first of all, those names were symbolize the cultivation that each of those individuals did in the past to wake up. We know one of them, Namo Amito Rulai, Namo Amitabha, there it is, says if you recite a single name of the Buddha Amitabha, it wipes away 80,000 eons of the offenses that lead to birth and death, and it will carry you to the land of utmost happiness. That's one sound of the Buddha's name. If you can recite Namo Amitabha 10 times, you can, with sincere heart, no false thinking, it will carry you to the Pure Land. How nice would that be? All right, and then the other Buddhas, their names are the Buddha Many Jewels, the Buddha Jewel Victory, the Buddha Wonderfully Colored Body, the Buddha Vast Extensive Body, the Buddha Free from All Fear, the Buddha King of Sweet Dew of Ambrosia, and the Buddha of Limitless Light, Amitabha. Those are the 7 tathagatas, Chi Rulai. You recite their names and wonderful things happen. So I'll come back to this next week because we're going to look at, I don't have enough time now to share all the individual benefits that arise from reciting the names of these tathagatas, but I'm going to type into the chat box a talk given by Master Hua. There it is. Maybe Jerry can pass that on to YouTube. Here is a talk and a website that people should know. This is CTTB USA. And here we go. Okay. Gonna shrink that down, bring this up, and share again. Here we go. There it is. Here's a talk, CTDB USA. This is a website administered by our fellow disciples. And it explains, this is in English. Chinese readers, I'm sure it's available too on DRBA Chinese. But this is an explanation, a Dharma talk by Master Hua, by Shifu, on what we recite the Buddha's name for. There's a wonderful talk. Okay, so the point of that is to say this method of reciting the names of Buddhas, putting that name in your mind, putting that name in your eyes, so you see it, putting it in your mind's eye, you contemplate it as you recite, and putting it in your mouth and saying the syllables, Namo Do Bao Rulai, Namo Do Bao Rulai, Namo Bao Sheng Rulai, Namo Miao Sha Shen Rulai, Namo Guangbo Shen Rulai, Namo Li Bu Wei Rulai, Namo Ganlu Wang Rulai, Namo Amito Rulai, and then Namo Do Bao Rulai. Whether or not you have a banjo, you don't need a banjo. If you have a banjo, it's better, but you don't need a banjo. You can do it on a recorder flute. You can do it on a piano. You can do it a cappella. Do it on a do it on your desktop. So those are, just keeping that mindfulness of the Buddha recommended in the Dirgha Agama, in the Pali Sutras, as the thing that you want to keep in your mind. Nianfo, the 6 kinds of mindfulness. In the Mahayana, particularly Yongming Yanshou, Master Yongming Yanshou was a monk at the earliest, the transition between the Tang Dynasty and the Sung Dynasty. He was the one who said, actually, we want to cultivate both Chan and Pure Land. That Pure Land recitation ultimately settled on Amitabha because his Pure Land had the best story. But it also includes Medicine Buddha, who has a different Pure Land in the east, not in the west. And all the different Buddhas, including the 7 tathagatas, whose names we just chanted. Master Yongming Yanshou said, this is the finest merit and virtue, and it does not violate or contradict the teachings of Chan, which during the Tang was king, right? Pure Land, from that time, the beginnings of the Song dynasty, the 12th century, 1100 and on, and prior to that, when the Tang ended, the 9th and 10th centuries, the 10th and 11th centuries, that is. That was when the Pure Land and mindfulness of the Buddha began. So many, 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 many more people practice Buddha recitation, Nianfo Faman, than do Chan. So many people are surprised when they get to Buddhist East Asia and discover that people are not sitting still on cushions. In fact, they have beads and they're reciting the Buddha's name, or they have electronic Buddha recitation counters, and they recite the Buddha's name. So next week we're going to, as we have the names of the Buddhas, we're going to digress a little bit and talk about the benefits that come from Nianfo, from reciting the Buddha's name. All right, that previews the coming attractions. And once the Bodhisattvas are happily seated in full lotus on the thrones that they have just transformed on their seats, they're going to start praising. So we'll be here to listen to that. Please do come back for that next piece of the infrastructure. We realize we're dealing with the infrastructure of the Avatamsaka, the interstice, the glue that holds the rest of the chapter together happens as the Buddha travels from heaven to heaven, from Deva realm to Deva realm. Now, before we end today's lecture, we are going to invite either Jin Chuan or Jin Wei Shi to tell us what is going on at the Berkeley Buddhist Monastery, and I'll bring that up. Okay, I've got the website up. Do you want to tell us what's happening?
Sure. Yeah. So for those who'd like to keep the Buddha's name in your heart, you can join us for our daily ceremonies that are still going on. Our morning ceremony, evening ceremony, and afternoon Amitabha recitation with our Master Jingfu. That's still going. I think we are considering moving the afternoon recitation to 12:30. So stay tuned about that. Right now it's 12 to 12:30. If you keep going down, we've also paused our Dharma reflections and 3 steps, 1 bow for the summer. And for those who would like to squeeze in the Buddha Root Farm, I believe there might be still space in the sense that you'll be put on a wait list. And if people cancel or it doesn't fill up completely, you might be able to get in. So if you have any interest in joining Buddha Root Farm this year, now is the time to sign up. There'll be a Guanyin session in the kind of pristine forest in Oregon. It's very beautiful there. And so if you want to be with good Dharma friends, reciting Guanyin Bodhisattva's name is from July 8th to July 17th. Oh, actually, we moved the date back, July 10th to July 17th, on Sunday to Sunday. So I'll update that.
Yeah.
Other than that, all our regular events are the same. Our afternoon lectures for Rev. Heng Shi on 12:30 on Friday, and the Saturday night lectures. And if you want, you can also still join extension DRBU extension classes. You can visit extension.drbu.edu.
Is that listed here, Jin Chuan? Is that on the?
It's not listed, but
okay.
It's on the extension website. Dharma Master Heng Shi and Doug Powers.
Why did I go there? Teaching. So where do I go? Tell me.
Extension.
Okay.
extension.drbu.edu. Yes. And the rest of our Berkeley Monastery classes are on summer break, but I think Doug, our Chufasher, is still teaching. So click on online classes. On the top, the online classes. Yeah. If you scroll down, you will see that Chufasher is actually not on summer break. June 15th, she's just resumed her class on the Worthy Leader, chapter 12, and Shrangma Mantra talk. So you have to register to join in. Okay.
Great. Yeah, this is, I didn't know about this website before. Let's see here. I saw Bhikkhu Bodhi's picture here.
Yeah, there's a series of talks on Abhidharma that are actually quite popular. So you can listen to Bhikkhu Bodhi explain Abhidharma at TRBU.
Yeah, nice. Also, look at the some of these images from past extension. There you are. There's you're sitting next to Doug.
Yeah, with Doug at Suna Center.
Wooden fish. Here's people reciting the Buddha's name. There you are leading the group. Wow. Reciting.
Our retreats.
Dharma Master Chur. Here's Marty teaching Tai Chi.
Yeah.
There's Connie in the background. Big Bell. Okay. Yeah. So this, that's very cool. All right. Good indeed. Thank you for that. We're going to bow to the Buddha. I have a bell here. And see, I'll close that and then pick up my photograph. Got two pictures here. And I'll take my handbell. Oh, let's see. No, not yet. We haven't recited, we haven't transferred merit. We need to do that next. So let's transfer merit with the idea being we're going to help dispel the negativity of the COVID virus. What is that virus? Why is it so tenacious? And why does the karma of humanity at this point require that virus to be here and be so strong? It keeps mutating and finding new sets of lungs to infect. What's that about? So if we recite Medicine Buddha's mantra, we have the ability to put our minds into an ancient place of harmony, a place that has been in harmony forever and forever. And the Buddha transmits that space and that mindfulness, that consciousness, that energy, those vibrations through the mantra. So when we recite that mantra, even though we have a banjo, or maybe because we have a banjo, it's particularly efficacious. And if we memorize it, learn it, recite it, when we're in a situation we're coexisting with the virus, our hearts are full of light and goodness, and the virus has less chance to make us ill. Furthermore, the energy that we create by reciting enhances the proper energy of whatever environment we're in, right? So, lots of benefits. Please make a wish to transfer merit, however you'd like to do so. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Guru Vajra Prabharajaya tathagatas Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Yata Om Aisaji 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 Samukate Swaha Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Guru Vajra Prabharajaya tathagatas Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Yata Om Aisaji 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 Samukate Swaha. One more. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Guru Vajra Prabharajaya tathagatas Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Yata sa om pai sa ji pai sa ji pai sa sa ga te swaha om. We'll close that one and bring up the images. There we are. We'll share our screen. And make 3 bows. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Alrighty, that's going to do it for us for today. We'll look forward to seeing you all next week. Amitofo. Bye, everybody.